Thank you. You can be seated. Thank you. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you now have heard all the evidence in the case. Before the lawyers make their closing arguments, the court will instruct you on the instructions of law that you are to apply in deciding this case. Okay? Since it's been quite a while since I gave you the preliminary instructions, I want to remind you that in closing arguments, the lawyers will refer to the testimony and the other evidence that you will have heard, but what the lawyers say in their closing arguments is not itself evidence. Their statements are only their recollection of what the evidence in the case was. It is your collective recollection as 7 jurors of what the evidence in the case was, which shall govern your deliberations. In addition, your notes should be used only as an aid to your memory. You should not give your notes precedence over your independent recollection of the evidence. You should rely on your independent recollection of what the evidence in the case was, and you should not be unduly influenced by the notes of other jurors. I also wanted to make you aware that due to the high-profile nature of this case, the court has entered an order to seal the names of the jurors for a year, which is different than what I had instructed you in the beginning of the case, so I wanted to bring that to your attention, okay? All right, as to the following jury instructions that I'm going to give you, you'll be able to take these written jury instructions into the deliberation room with you, so you don't need to write down exactly what I say right now, because you'll all have copies of them, but I would ask for your attention while I read them to you, okay? With respect to the instructions that I'm about to give you, you may note that some of them are numbered and some of them are lettered at the top, and that the numbers and letters do not necessarily follow in any sequence or any order. Do not concern yourself with that. Some might even be missing, but just consider only the body or text of the instruction, not the headings, okay? All right, now some of the instructions may appear to be in conflict. This is because the court cannot predict your findings of fact. Therefore, the court must instruct you, the jury, on the applicable law under both the plaintiff's and the defendant's theory of the case. Okay? All right. You have been chosen and sworn as jurors in this case to try the issues of facts presented. You must consider and decide this case fairly and impartially. You are to perform this duty without bias or prejudice as to any party. All persons stand equal before the law and are entitled to the same treatment under the law. Our system of law does not permit jurors to be governed by sympathy, prejudice, or public opinion. Both of the parties and the public expect that you will carefully and impartially consider all the evidence in the case, follow the law as stated by the court, and reach a just verdict regardless of the consequences. You are the judges of the facts, the credibility of the witnesses, and the weight of the evidence. You may consider the appearance and manner of the witnesses on the stand, their intelligence, their opportunity for knowing the truth and for having observed the things about which they testified, their interest in the outcome of the case, their bias, and if any have been shown, their prior inconsistent statements, or whether they have knowingly testified untruthfully as to any material fact in the case. You may not arbitrarily disregard believable testimony of a witness. However, after you have considered all the evidence in the case, then you may accept or discard all or part of the testimony of a witness as you think proper. You are entitled to use your common sense in judging any testimony. From these things and all the other circumstances of the case, you may determine which witnesses are more believable and weigh their testimony accordingly. You must not base your verdict in any way upon sympathy, bias, guesswork, or speculation. Your verdict must be based solely upon the evidence and instructions of the court.